This week's Art Like Minisode. This week, I wanted to actually reference Frieren Beyond Journey's End again. So, for those who keep up with the podcast, I talked about that character from that show briefly in last week's podcast episode. And surprise, surprise, there's another character who kind of talked to and discussed something in the show that I want to talk about this week. So, for those who are new, the Art Like Minisode is just a little small series kind of to post in between my full length podcast episodes. So be sure to check those out, as well as to check out the podcast. It's pretty much my thoughts, but longer. So this week, I want to talk about the character Himmel. So Himmel in the show Frieren Beyond Journey's End, he is the hero of the hero party. So I discussed Frieren the elf last week, and also I discussed Eisen the vanguard. But this week, I want to talk about Himmel. So there was something that happened towards the latter half of season 2 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, that a comment that was made that resonated with me and that I really wanted to talk about because I do think it's really, really important. And so what was happening in the show around this time, we were actually sort of getting the inspiration from another character, and he was talking about what inspired him to want to help people and save people. And he briefly mentioned the stories he would hear from the people in his village about Himmel the hero. And he always read about all of the really big battles, like fighting dragons, fighting great giant monsters. But he noticed all of the older people would talk about the little ways in which Himmel helped. And so Frieren in the episode sort of reminisces with him about how that's just the type of person Himmel is. And we get a flashback of Himmel being questioned by Eisen actually about why he doesn't only focus on the big missions. Why does he do all of these little side quests helping just random people on their journey? And he says, or he basically says, that it's really, really important to help those who are within reach. And that resonated with me because I feel like even now, there are so many times when you want to help someone and when you want to be or feel like a hero in a way, and you think that only those big things matter. You believe that only things that are made noteworthy, only things that are considered massive and to be of a grand scale are things to be considered heroes, or things that will be allow you to be considered heroic. But that's just not the case, actually. It is important to not only help those in the grand scheme of things by tackling the bigger project or the bigger task, but it is also actually really, really important that we help those within reach. Maybe you're not able to travel all the way to DC and help with protests or do things of that nature. Maybe there are these really big aspects of a movement that you wish you could be a part of, but maybe it's physically impossible for you. Maybe it's financially impossible for you. Even the little things that we can do to help matter, because those small things, us being able to help those who are maybe right next door to us, maybe those who are within our own communities. And sure, you may not have your name remembered by thousands of people, but you will have your name remembered by one person, or there will be one person who will remember that you took time out of your day to help them. And that is also really, really important. If I had to contextualize what I would consider to be my own personal dream, it would have to be to help as many people as possible. And so, even if that's just one person a day, I do feel like I am always working towards my goal. And that makes me feel really, really happy. I think it's really important to help people, even on the smaller scale, because the smaller scale is more than enough. The smaller scale can help to strengthen and build the morale and build the hope and belief in a better world being possible for the bigger things to happen. And so help those within reach because that is just as important as all of the big things that we hear about in the textbooks. So, yeah, that's all I have for you today. Be sure to check out last week's episode. I talk about how I have been trying to find a new way to look at fear and what fear sort of means for me. And then also be on the lookout for next week's episode, in which you'll just have to tune in to find out what I talk about. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being. Be sure to follow me on YouTube and follow our podcast anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And have a great rest of your day. Bye.